Well, howdy, folks. This marks 11 months that I have been covering the city council meetings here in Waldport on the coast of Oregon. To say it has been interesting is to say the least on the matter. To say more, there have been quite a few dynamic events for the city. My introduction to the city council was following the council voting to remove the mayor from her position after an incident concerning the handling of official complaint letters against the city manager, which spurred complaints from staff against the mayor. This removal, though appearing unlawful, never had a ruling, as the council rescinded their decision before the court could do so. This was done citing fiscal concerns and without an apology that I'm aware of. There has been a very concerted effort to recall the entire city council, something that would have been unprecedented in this state. This did fall short due to those collecting the signatures necessary, having apparent confusion about a rule requiring the signers to fill out their own addresses. Additionally, there was an attempt to officially recall the mayor from office that in the last week has failed to move forward. Those of the effort having a message also citing fiscal concern for the city and a lack of worth, with the term length getting ever shorter and the mayor being quoted as saying she will not be running again. Some outside of that group, though, say that they just didn't get enough signatures. Though there has been some great and noticeable community development, it didn't take long and there was hardly a shortage of people that had concerns about various projects in the city. From possible fraud and labor violations at the park to reports of illegal dumping in a restricted area of the city property that was effectively gifted to the city to be a park. Specifically, one that was to have an ADA accessible trail and a memorial plaque honoring Izaack Walton. There has also been concerns and complaints that have, till yet, but possibly today, been brought forward against the city manager concerning his actions after the falling out of the city with the longstanding beachcombers group. It's been very interesting, folks. I thank you all for your viewership and joining me on this adventure, and to keep tabs on our local governments. Let's get in there and see how this one turns out today, folks.
Calling to order the council meeting of March 12th. And if anybody has any questions or comments about the consent agenda?
Motion we accept it.
Alright. Second? Gary? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
I'm making sure what I.
Okay, no worries, I just didn't see your.
So if I know, I read what it said.
Alright, so unanimous, so we pass the lyrics of the agenda. And then now we can go to public comment. So April, if you would like to start?
My name is April Swift. I'm a citizen of Waldport, and addressing your goals that you guys are going to be thinking of. I'm hoping that you would consider under the Parks and Recreation Fund. We do have wonderful parks here, great big brand new wonderful one, and we still need to work on that one. But there are other resources of parks that we have that need a little upgrade, that need a little bit of love, and they would serve they do serve our citizens and increase the tourist experience, the visitors to our town. The Crestview Children's Park, the little one with the seals up there off of Crestview, and the swing set. The skateboard park could really use a couple extra upgrades to encourage our young people to go out and use things in an appropriate way. Any ages, yeah. I mean, maybe even a bench or two there. The John Murray Woodland Trail is an excellent resource, an amazing resource for our city and for our visitors. And we could use signage for that, for the hikers. I've talked to many Frisbee golf people that they don't know where to go unless they've been there before. So some signage to help them find their way around and use the trails and not, use other parts of the trails that aren't really trails. Anyway, Kendall Fields, the maintenance has been great last year for the Waldport Junior League. And Keedy Wayside, is that part of us?
Yeah.
Keedy Wayside, it's looking pretty good. It probably, I don't know if it needs any upgrades or anything, but well, the bathroom across the street by the pizza place, yeah. I always wonder what's going on in there. Now there's,
That's closed.
now there's a little, I think there's a little park, right across from the post office kitty corner. It's the Veterans Park. Nobody knows about it because it's just a little, I know about it. And there's nothing there that kind of like a bench or something, just like, oh yeah, we'll sit here for a while. And a little honorary something there would be great.
I thought Veterans Park is at East.
It's what?
Veterans Park is at East Hardware, that lawn in front of East Hardware.
Oh, it's that one.
So, and then
Okay.
there's
There's
Meridian
another
Park, which is right next to City Hall, and that has benches and.
Okay, I was gonna say that one. I didn't know the name, but Meridian for sure.
Which is on.
Okay, so we're jumping around. Hold on.
Yeah, you're good.
Good ideas.
That's not a city.
Okay, so
There's also benches at Veterans Park.
yes, I know that one. I forgot about that one. It's not on my list. I think there's a little park right kitty
It's a
corner from the
memorial.
park.
It's a memorial. There's
A
plaque.
memorial.
There's a plaque.
Okay. So I don't know if that's something to consider in your goals. And of course, that little
So
sitting
that
park.
is not a city park, what you're talking about, the memorial, it's not a city park.
Okay, that's not a city park. Okay,
It's private.
so the Meridian Park, the one across from
Just
City
right
Hall.
next to City Hall with the purple trees.
Yeah,
that's what-
and I've sat there, it's really nice, there's some nice little chairs and everything, but there's some of the wood could be replaced, not a big deal. Just to consider some of the other parks, I know we're just all enamored with the big, huge, wonderful park, but there's other ones, and it'd be really nice to have a little bit of attention to those parks. That's it.
Thank you. Yeah, and we used to have a brochure that said the parks and trails. Exactly. Did you still have that? I think
We do, we probably need to update it.
Yeah.
Within the last 5 years, we've added several hundred
Yeah.
acres of park land in town, so.
So thank you, April, because we used to have a little brochure around town and it listed all the parks and all of the trails. So that would be nice to do that again.
And today I heard about, our big, all the playground equipment that we shouldn't be thinking of just for kids. Adults can enjoy doing those things too, so we should push it for
And
everybody.
it's really good for our own health, I agree. Okay, I don't have the paper, but Todd Swift.
Robin Colton.
Because she's next, so.
I do have a correction from the workshop. As far as there not being a lot of foot traffic at Ball and Crestline, that's not true. All our mailboxes are across the street. Yeah. I don't check my mail at night for fear of getting run over. So, yeah, so all those Amazon packages have to wait. Oh, sorry, Wendy. A suggestion for the gym. My understanding from what I heard was Representative Gomberg approved a grant for the fire station to buy the fire, or for the fire department to buy the fire station again from the city. So can that money be designated to refurbishing the gym?
Only if the fire department sleeps on it.
And then you want to really do something for the town, refurbish those monument signs like what Newport did. They look great. People are commenting on them all the time. That's the first thing people see driving in and driving out. The one on the south side of 101, it's okay. The one north is okay too. The one coming in on 34, make it the same style. That one just like,
You mean the one from the Waldport?
yeah, like, hey, you're in Waldport now. Get your crab and get out. I mean, that's pretty much. So those are some suggestions. Other than that, I was just gonna do my usual thing of, blah blah blah, accountability, blah blah. So there you go. And the only reason really I'm up here is I wasn't going to do public comment, but Susan Woodruff tackled me in the parking lot after the last meeting and demanded to know why I wasn't doing public comments. I'm like, well, the meeting's over. We had the meeting, and I actually had a very nice conversation with her. I said, look, I do the public comments. I don't feel like we're being heard. So what's the point? But she did encourage me to come back up here today. So you're welcome, Susan. All right.
We missed you.
I'm here to address a few issues I have with the mayor and the groups that are supporting her. Personally, I have worked in management positions and have taken a few training courses in leadership. One of the number one things you learn is to document if there is any kind of incident. I was the employee that felt, I was one of the employees that felt you had wrongly verbally abused them. I was not told to report you, as some of your supporters have stated. I chose to document it, hoping that no other employee would have to endure that treatment. As a person that has stated that they are trained in dealing with trauma, one would think you would at least apologize for making me feel uncomfortable. Yet you have never reached out to either of us. Maybe some of this could have been avoided. You state that the reason for the recall was not turned in is because it would become public record that it would show who signed it. Quoting you, likely all employees of the city, their family members, and council. Because of the lies the manager and council has spread over the years. I, for one, did not sign the recall, nor did any family member. Can you say the same about the first recall that was against the council? I'm sorry that the council and my fellow employees have to deal with all the nasty posts and ugly cartoons just because they're trying to share the truth and both sides of the story. I consider that to be 100% retaliation and bullying on your behalf and your supporters. Maybe lose the quote, "You're taking away the people's vote." Guess what? The people also voted for these 6 individuals.
And they fired the mayor.
Excuse me, my turn. Sorry, I hate speaking in public. I would like to clarify that the mayor's role for the City of Waldport Council. It is a simple and weak mayor. Its definition is as a mayor council system where the mayor holds limited power and acts as a ceremony head of the city, office, and presenting officer of the city council. In this structure, which is common in many Oregon cities, the mayor has no more power than any other council member in heading city business. The mayor should work with the city manager and the council, but that has not been happening. During my time working in the city, council members, including the past 3 mayors, have always operated as part of a team. The council members have questions and concerns. They typically call or come into City Hall and discuss them. But it seems that you are not able to be part of that team and prefer to work solo. Perhaps working closely with the city council and city manager, gaining a better understanding of why certain individuals and groups have been told that some requests cannot be forwarded could help improve the situation. Instead of fighting against systems and rules, you absolutely have the right to voice your opinion and your perspective on things. But it is important to remember that you're not always going to win the vote, neither are they. Yes, we are working in a hostile environment, but that has nothing to do with Dan or these 6 council members. They have supported all of us employees, and they have thrived to make the community a better place. I would really love to see all of you work together. Thank you for your time.
All right, who's in public comment? Let's go to discussion A, schools workshop action items. I think the action items are that they're going to email the city manager with ideas for the next meeting. And we all have some really great ideas, so I appreciate all of that. Does anybody have anything that they want to propose or motion with that? I mean, I think that, I think it's soon myself, so I'm just giving that opportunity to not have on.
So just like a motion.
If you would like to make a motion, this would be.
Go ahead.
There's no have to, it's just consensus.
Yeah, we have consensus, so I think we're good.
Okay. I think that what they're asking is a motion for us to bring it back to the next meeting. Because it says approve or direct. So,
Direction is all I need.
so does someone want to direct the city manager to bring this back?
I motion that the city manager bring us our conversations of that.
All of our comments at the next meeting.
Okay, organized.
I'm just backing this board, pretty good.
And then, so second.
I'll second.
Okay, and then all in favor?
Aye.
And Thompson?
Aye.
Okay, unanimous, thank you. All right, then the next, item on our agenda is amending, the agenda order of the council rules. And this I think we talked about last time, and everybody's pretty excited about new business. Yes.
So if I might make one comment, in the future, unless an item is dismissed by the council, somebody moves to dismiss an item, items like the goal workshop will come back every month until we're done. Or they can take an affirmative action. That way, nothing gets left behind, nothing gets ignored, nothing gets forgotten. It will make the agenda longer. And I've actually got a marker now when, if we don't have results on something, which I'll mention something that happened at the last meeting that I was gonna bring back to this meeting, but we don't have results on, so it'll be hopefully at the next meeting. There'll be a little asterisk that basically says there's no material in the packet, and that will indicate that likely there's no further discussion at this time, and that's something that you can then say, hey, we expect to be able to talk about this, I'll provide an explanation, and that is something if they know this is important, you need to reprioritize, or, well, that makes sense.
So, my understanding of correctly, so if there's nothing, no update on it, it will be off of the list?
No, it will stay on the list, always, so that you see it every month.
The
So,
agenda will run, and so it doesn't fall.
Yes,
Yeah.
no, that's the important.
It is, because every agenda is like, every one right now.
the example is that water bed. So I'm working with the person who wanted to do that, and I was gonna bring back forms and an example, how we went through that process with that person. We have not finished that process. It takes a little longer than anticipated, not the form part, but just them talking to the family about what they want.
So, I believe that we need to make a motion to approve this new agenda.
I'm so moved, and I'll second that as well.
Sorry, just making sure. To approve the agenda, or
The
sidewalk.
resolution, the new agenda.
Okay, sorry, there, I looked on the same one. Okay, so, Counselor Dunn, you made a motion to approve.
Jerry did, I second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, unanimous. Good, all right, so now we're going into the sidewalks, and I believe that there was a bunch of changes last minute, I saw.
And I have an update to that as well. So,
So we don't have to do the resolution or we do?
No, we're not.
On
the
the agenda?
Oh, agenda.
one that they just did, you just voted for it.
Okay.
They just didn't say it.
Yeah, we just didn't call it. Okay.
So the sidewalk thing, on this ordinance, I have provided an update of the ordinance. Basically, with the only change being that we needed to pass it today. I'm rescinding that. In conversations with the city attorney, there is a recent court finding that may affect a section of this ordinance that 42% of cities potentially in Oregon have to fix. So he is going to research that, and we're going to get that language corrected. And I'll call out the section as we go through the ordinance. But it specifically has to do whether the city can direct an entity without a certain triggering level to build a sidewalk. We can have you build a sidewalk if you're doing development. We can have you build a sidewalk if you have an existing sidewalk and it's in bad shape. The question is whether the city can force you to build a sidewalk when there are sidewalks on both sides, but you don't have a sidewalk. And that's the question. Or if you change your access, say you build a new driveway into an area that didn't have a driveway, whether that triggers the ability for us to build a sidewalk. And that's the only question.
So are we going to discuss this today or not?
No, we should absolutely discuss the ordinance today because most everything else is simply the insurance language. There's some formatting changes, and I will tell you, this ordinance now looks horrible.
Yes, it does.
So I am going to clean it up so that it's really down to about a one-page thing with the language. And so, because some stuff is repeated in different sections,
Yes, many times.
I just need to make sure that we have covered the gist of the idea, which is, you know, the language that CIS asked for.
So I have one question that I couldn't find in all of this, was that so we're asking folks that if they have a sidewalk in front of their house, they have to insure it and maintain that sidewalk.
So right now, and in almost every city in Oregon, if you have a sidewalk in front of your house, you are legally required to maintain that sidewalk in good condition, clean and repaired.
So if that house has had that sidewalk in front of their house since the 70s, and there hasn't been the repairs, is the city gonna make the repairs before we give
No.
it to the house?
No,
No,
because
they
it's already there. That's already part of our
Their
code.
sidewalks are already there. Okay, so all this is doing is changing the insurance.
No,
Not quite.
no, it is putting language that specifically it is putting language that CIS says specifically calls out that they will not be responsible and that the homeowner is required to pay the city if the city gets sued or somebody slips and falls. And that language is already there. They looked at it and they just said, that's great, it could be cleaner, and they provided suggested language. And that suggested language specifically is in the 12.12.50 general liability, A, B, and C.
So where's recreational liability?
Recreational liability doesn't apply on a site.
So I thought.
Recreational-
We talked about how if it was adjusted to city property, that it was.
That's city property, not an
This is for-
individual sidewalk.
Right.
Okay, and so if it's a road that the city owns, and there's a sidewalk, and then it's the personal property that doesn't own.
No.
Okay.
I have a question, and maybe I've just been reading weird things, but on page 20, is this our verbiage?
No.
Oh, it isn't, okay, but then if you turn to 12.12.070A, about construction, close to the end, it says it may require that the work be constructed within 10 days after the mailing of such notice. Is that like Phil's thing, like 10 days?
That is already our language. So
That is our language.
that is our existing language that is in place right now, because it's not, only the bold is new language,
Okay,
and only the crossouts are things that we eliminated. That is our existing language.
10 days? That seems absurd.
That's
Yeah.
in an emergency
Oh,
situation.
okay.
That's not a standard. Standard, you have 30 days, and I will tell you right now that if you tell the city that you can't find somebody to do it for 60 days, we're not gonna jump on
Okay.
there.
That was the only thing I read there. I was like,
That-
what the heck?
That section right there, though, is specifically what our attorney said, this may be totally invalid. We can force you to, or we can require you to replace a sidewalk if it exists. So if you bought a house and it has a crumbling sidewalk, and the city comes around, and we are actually now going to have to do a sidewalk audit every year, and we will be sending out notices. When you have a crumbling sidewalk, you will be forced or required to repair that sidewalk to safe condition. If you choose not to, you can be fined if the city chooses to go that direction. Or you are accepting liability that if you've been noticed and somebody falls on that, they could sue you and, It could be for $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 or more, depending on their level of injury. It is incumbent, if you have a sidewalk in front of your property, that you keep your sidewalk into repair.
Can you close the sidewalk?
If you have a sidewalk now, you cannot close the sidewalk.
So you're mandating money to come from these people that they have no control over and pay for something that they don't have control.
That is what the existing law says.
Well, the existing law sucks, I can tell you.
Yeah, it does.
Because that doesn't make any sense. I don't have a sidewalk, don't put one in front of my house.
So every city in Oregon, so this is language that is in every city in Oregon. There are only a couple cities that don't do this. I'll give you an example. Corvallis, instead of having you fix it, what Corvallis does is Corvallis charges you on your utility bill a sidewalk fee every month. And so it has a huge fund to go around and fix sidewalks.
Don't put sidewalk in front of my house. It's like that everywhere. I know in California, I had a city route that was good for the sidewalk. I was responsible for digging that section, removing it.
So in the downtown corridor, those sidewalks are.
On Highway 34 and Highway 101, because they are adjacent to the highway, there are different rules.
Are those ours or ODOT's?
There are.
Yeah, but they're ours,
Yeah.
so.
ODOT forced us to take the ones along 101. They used to be ODOT's. ODOT forced us to take the ones on 101, and I'm still not sure that was it. But the ones on 34 have always been.
So we don't need a motion for this, we're waiting for them to come.
No,
back.
this is for your consideration, and this is when you would either now, or ideally now, say, hey, can we strike this? And I would tell you, yes, this is a portion of the code that we can strike. Or no, unfortunately, based on the rules that have been established by our insurer, we can't touch that part of the language. So for example, Councilman Booth, as much as I would like to, we cannot remove the section that says that we are requiring somebody to fix the sidewalk if they have one.
I'm fine with it, just don't put one in front of my house. Probably a new one, so that's all I care about.
So, my hesitation about it is just because of it's all there and all jumbled and says things over and over, it just sounds really harsh and ugly. And so if you promise me that it's.
It will be cleaned up.
Nice.
So I went to Portland's today, and Portland's is a beautiful one page that has all the language it appears that CIS wants. I'm going to steal Portland's and then add a few unique Waldport things.
Yeah. And I don't know about the 30 days and the 10 days, I don't know. I saw that Florence has had 60 days, I think, that was food and coffee.
I think that there is room to play with that. I'm actually not going to put a specific date,
Okay.
and the city will prescribe a date. If somebody's got a problem and it's November, realistically, I know that we found that concrete guy to do some work in the dog park when it was pouring rain, but the reality is you're not going to generally get concrete work done until spring. We need to be realistic about all of it, and that's the important thing in a city, is that we have to be realistic. We have to give people the benefit of the doubt, but we also have to let them know that they have a problem and need to. We also have people who are not going to be able to afford to put a sidewalk and replace what they have. We've also got to figure out how to help them.
Any more discussion on sidewalks?
I guess part of this though is that if it says can't or won't, I don't know if it says can't, it says that they will, that we will do it and then it will become a lien against the property. So that's one way to help.
But we'll do it and then leave the property. Leaving property is always a little tricky.
Yeah.
We have often run into a situation where we told somebody they have a problem and we have not chosen to go in and pay, even though we have the language to abate the problem ourselves. And the reason we don't do that is legally it feels very uncomfortable to me to walk onto somebody's property and take action that may remove or destroy a piece of somebody else's property. I feel like that is a gross overreach. I'd rather just tell them, hey, you really need to do this. You're either accepting liability or you're going to end up having to pay for it. Because once you start stepping on people's property and taking that action, it feels like you are the government that none of us want.
Maybe we could take pictures of the sidewalks we like, and then keep a drawing in it, and then
A prize,
right?
I like that.
Yeah, the garden, the gardens. We talked about that a few years ago.
I know, that's-
Do you want us to approve this now, or wait for you to come back?
It will absolutely.
Okay.
I need to bring in a version of this
That's
that
readable.
has been, well, readable, but also attested by the attorney.
So next item is number D, and it's the hiring budget. Oh, I'm so sorry.
Dan, could you explain how this connects, if it does at all, to the situation on Green Drive, where there's a drain that drains from the golf course across the sidewalk, resulting in algae on the sidewalk, which the person slipped and fell and was injured. I know this is a completely different situation, but what's the situation with that?
So, for example, what that language would firm up is language that has been vetted through the courts, but that we already say, which is if somebody hurts themselves on a sidewalk due to an action of a property owner or the fail to maintain a safe sidewalk by the property owner, that property owner is liable. This wouldn't change that, it just comes up with better language so that it's easier for the court to dismiss the city from the lawsuit. In that particular case, that property owner is jeopardizing the fact that if anybody slips and falls or it gets icy and they fall, they are subject to a lawsuit. And, we let them know, which is all the works, because once you know about a problem and you take no action to solve it, it becomes a greater liability.
Because the sidewalk's fine, they just put a pipe that drains the golf course
Well,
water
in our
off, and
code-
goes right across that sidewalk.
Yeah, our code says you can't do that, so they need to solve that problem. And we've had that conversation, we'll have that conversation with them.
So what about the place in Old Town, that they have put a pipe down and then across the sidewalk, so it goes to the street, but making the
Not
pipe.
aware of that one.
It's right on, what's the last one, Mill Street? Go down Mill Street, you'll see it, comes
Alright.
down, across the sidewalk and empties onto the road. So it does empty onto the road, but across the sidewalk,
We will take a look at that.
you've been there for quite some time. You must not look down Mill
I
Street very
do.
often.
I've not seen it, I apologize.
Now, will the new website have a spot where people, when they see stuff like that?
Yep.
They can go on and report?
We've got one now. We've got one, people use it all the time. It's very unfortunate. The biggest problem is, and report things or in visual. It's-
The old problem with. where's
So
Waldport?
we will have a note on the new site that says, by the way, here's a map of the city.
Alright. Any more questions, Marcella? Okay, so then moving on to the hiring budget transparency. Looks like this was for information, about budgeting for the new 3 positions. Does anybody have any questions about this for discussion?
I just wanted, people asked me about our code and safety compliance person, and I heard you say that we haven't hired somebody yet.
No.
Okay. How do you foresee?
I've got all the candidates, applications right now.
the closed as far as-
It's not closed. If we get more applications, we'll review them until we hire somebody. But we're doing our first review next week.
Oh, okay.
And I hope to have this position in as soon as possible. One of the things that made this position very clear in my mind was the CIS conference that I attended in late February, meeting with all the insurers and listening to some of the different issues and things that we need to take care of. And so while this person will spend a good deal of their time on code enforcement, they will spend another substantial amount of their time doing some required safety reviews for the city, and ensuring that we do safety meetings on a regular basis, keep notes, and have that information, kind of readily available. And the big reason there is there are just more and more liabilities at these conferences every time. sure that we are doing our due diligence. And the biggest one, I mean, it came up, the biggest one is sidewalks. Sidewalks is something we have to do with sidewalk inventory. We have to have somebody walk the sidewalks, once a year and write down the conditions. We need to do that with trails. And this, we'll finally have somebody whose job it is to do that, take photo documentation and provide a report every week.
Has there been any other applicants for the other positions?
Oh yeah, I've got 5 or 6 for each position. Yeah, even the water. I've got very qualified people. In just a cursory look at the applications, I did not see anything that made me think that we will not hire somebody, that we would disqualify.
So the notes specifically say it doesn't have any effect on this fiscal year. So obviously it must have an effect next fiscal year.
No, that was really to say, it's not changing our budget. Our budget already had these positions built in, so when I said this fiscal year,
So the
what I
same
meant
budget
was-
goes on.
yeah,
It's
it's the
still
same budget. It's all, these positions were funded a while ago, or these positions were from savings from the Lincoln County Sheriff's Office. But that savings occurred a year and a half ago when we went from 2 deputies down to 1.5. So that money still, that hasn't changed. So this will not have an effect on this. That was the really important thing I was trying to get across is adding 3 positions when you only have 20, 21 staff anyways, can feel like, oh my God, this is a huge change. But we've already budgeted these positions. They've been budgeted and either not filled, or we had a retirement, or we were uncertain of how we wanted to do it. Now we've got it done, and we're just gonna, and we are adjusting how we're doing this.
So but the code one, if that's coming from money that we're saving because we don't have deputies, when we have deputies, then it will be.
So we had a $350,000 contract, and I'm gonna throw vague numbers out there, not specific numbers. We had a $350,000 contract for 2 deputies. It started to go up, and we were looking at a $400,000 contract for 2 deputies. The council decided a year and a half ago to go to 1.5 deputies. That removed our cost down to $300,000, leaving us a $50,000 savings in our account. This position will fit within that at that part-time. Now, I may, depending on how this position goes, come to the council at a future or even this budget season and say, maybe we should make this full-time. I think we should start it at part-time for a year, see how it goes, and then have a conversation whether we want to bump it up into the benefit of territory.
When we have a code enforcement person, and so stuff is people are getting educated, first of all, that we have one, and what you need to do and you can't do, that it should grow.
My hope is that we will see a surge at the beginning of the position in code enforcement. And then over time, the code enforcement aspects will drop down, and to keep them busy, we will increase the amount of safety and reporting that they're doing.
And have we attained a judge?
Yes,
Okay.
well, no, we have contact information, and he's interested in the position.
We haven't contacted the judge yet.
We have not contracted with them. But I expect that by this next meeting, I will be bringing you that.
Any other questions? All right, then we go on to the planning commission vacancy. And it's simply another letter from Thomas, in here. No. No.
I will say I did not ask him.
Okay.
Sounds like we've got a lot of experience
Yeah.
in construction.
So that's good news. So is there any, I know there's some thing about planning commissions and how many and what type of
So
real estate.
you can only have 2 real estate or 2 people in the same trade profession.
Yeah.
However, he's retired.
Oh,
So
right.
his job is retired.
All right.
so he's
yeah,
fine.
That's true.
It's not like he's retired from California, it's a lot different than that.
Yes.
I'll motion to appoint Mr. Edlin. to the
I'll
planning
second.
commission.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, unanimous. Moving on, this looks like we had a resolution to adopt, but now we are not adopting it.
So this resolution, A, was dependent on the sidewalk ordinance being passed. And B, this is the exact problem that Corey alerted us that may not qualify. So at this point, this item will be moved to the next agenda and very likely will be one of the first things that we move to dismiss. Simply because it doesn't look like that's going to be an avenue that's available to us. So that you know what, so in full disclosure, what we were trying to do is we are trying to find some leverage with Oregon State Parks so that they don't institute a $10 per day parking fee. One of the thoughts was with the sidewalk ordinance that we have in place and that they are creating a safety need, that we could ask them to build a sidewalk along 101. The cost to do that would likely be high enough that they might forestall until they had a better idea the $10 fee. However, it doesn't sound like that's going to be a legal application of that, which is a bummer because they are creating a safety hazard. We're going to have more people walking along the sidewalks. We're going to have more people parking along the highway, and more people crossing either private property and or unsafe access. This is really a bummer all around, and it's especially hurtful because it's the people who can't afford it, who are being hit. This is not going to affect those of us who can pay $10 or buy a pass. It's going to affect the people who are just trying to take their kids down to the beach and now find out or that they potentially are going to get a ticket for doing so. It's really unfortunate. We do have another approach that we're going to try, and I may be bringing that to you in April as well, where we may institute a fee for or a instruction that if you charge for parking in the city of Waldport, that you are financially responsible and legally responsible for any vandalism, theft, or acts of destruction. One of the first things you see at every municipal, paid parking is like, we're not responsible for that. But if the city says you are, maybe. But I don't know if that will override the state's sovereign immunity. So again, it's all about trying to get the state to re-engage with the amount that they're charging, with how they're doing it, and the fact that it does block the entire southern beach from reasonable and safe access.
It seems like it was a major park, that's one thing, but, lots of stuff, but this is just basically access to the beach, which is supposed to be open to everybody.
It's really unfortunate.
Any other concerns or comments today? No? All right, on to the manager's report.
We're just waiting to get the grant review with ODOT on the sidewalks. The sewer, we've added a generator to the lift station up at the school that will prevent problems if we have power outages. And that's actually a good thing for both us and the school, frankly. At the wastewater project, we've had to do an extension to the NPDES permit. That was kind of a pain, but it's moving forward. It's just the state costing us more money, but the state provided us the money, so I guess it's okay. It's kind of a ridiculous hoop, but we pointed out that if we didn't do the permit and we rushed it, we would likely end up dumping a bunch of sewage into the bay, and they still didn't want to waive the permit costs, so we just ended up paying it. We've installed a bunch of new colorful picnic tables around the park and in the dog park. I don't know if you've seen them. They're nice and metal. We got a great deal from a company on a bunch of metal picnic tables, and they're different styles. So I hope you all enjoy them. We're seeing some fiber work along the northern portion of Crestline Drive. This is because of the tree that came down and took out a bunch of infrastructure along the road. The electrical they'll put back in the poles, but the fiber they're going to put on the ground so that it doesn't get knocked out again. I'm very concerned about the fiber running along the road and whether streams or pockets or whatever they're going to hit. We'll have to see how that goes. I know that the line on Cedar where we see the water coming up to the new pavement, that is because of a fiber line that hit an underground stream. So, and that stream is now just following the fiber line down. We do have a plan on fixing that, but it's got to be warmer. So, as I mentioned earlier, we have new public computers in the library. You should stop by and take a look. The roof repair, we hope to see something in the next 2 weeks. I got kind of ornery with them last week about getting these guys scheduled to come out and do the rivets and get it all done. because I'd really like to get in there and get the carpet replaced and everything. So hopefully they're gonna call me here very shortly to tell you when the crew's planning to come out. The good news, and I spelled the name wrong, but the good news is Representative Gomberg called me last week to tell me that the $1.1 million has been secured. For those of you who don't know, 4 years ago, we, upon request of the fire district, we sold them the building for $1.02 million. We agreed to an interest-only payment for 5 years with the agreement that we would seek jointly funding from the legislature to pay off the note so that they would not have to pay a cent for this building. We have foregone requests for the city, instead focusing on this request for the fire district to get that money. It has been granted by the legislature, so the fire district will have paid $0 for that fire building as effectively as we give to them. We will get money that we can then use for multiple purposes as you desire. They've effectively gotten a free building. Everyone should be happy. So I'm really happy about that.
Does that funds go to the general fund?
Those funds, yes, will go to the general fund. And then they can go wherever you want.
We can use those like against grants where we have matching. Like
You can
if we
do,
want to use it for the new gym.
yep, those funds are what are called unencumbered funds. They can be applied to anything. I would highly encourage some of them to go to do engineering on some fire flow out in East County, because that's really the priority. But that project, likely based on ownership of the property, that project is likely enough that we'll probably need to go back to the legislature to get full funding for to make it as sufficient as we want. Because we're also going to have to replace a main valve, pressure valve, and some other things. So that has complicated the cost, but I think engineering, getting all that engineering done and ready to go, so we have a shovel-ready project for the legislature, and then that makes it a very easy ask in the next year.
So should we not keep that set aside for that, since that's kind of.
I think there are multiple options, and I think that's a great discussion for the council to have. Once, bird in the hand, I'd rather have the money and then have this discussion.
It occurred to be 6 months before we actually get
If it's 6 months, I will eat my hat. It will be, it will be delayed.
longer to say today. but
Yeah.
Yeah.
It will be, so it's lottery funds, and they have to sign a bunch of contracts. The last time we got lottery money, we got the check in December. So that's the timeline I'm expecting the fire district to get those funds. The audit update. As of yesterday, the audit for fiscal 21 is complete. They are putting in the report format, then their accountant will do their cover letter, and then send it to the city. And then they're already working on getting what additional document. So we gave them documentation for multiple years. They're now reviewing the next year and figuring out what supplemental information they need. I expect that the next audits will go much faster because now they have a baseline to go from. And that was the biggest issue. Their original comment was the previous auditor did not give them a baseline that made sense to go from. And so they had to redo a lot of that. So I'm very optimistic. Love to get that behind us. And then the ethics complaint was dismissed for the November council meeting. This was dismissed on March 6th from the OGDC.
Any questions from council? Anybody gonna go to council comments? Or do you not have council comments? Does anybody have council comments?
I've got council comments. We're going to, so, and you guys can mark your calendars, if you guys would like to show up, which I hope you do. The 27th of this month, 6 to 8, tentatively, we'll post it. We're gonna have our first little get together. It'll be myself, Jerry Townsend, and Susan Woodruff. Kind of a town hall. Ask us some questions, get some answers, So if you have some questions, maybe you heard something online, you want to get the facts, the whole, come on down and talk to us.
Can we do it as a council?
Yeah, I think it would have been really nice to know about that before right now.
The reason I didn't do it like that is if you get more than 4, then it's considered a council meeting. And I wanted to, I want to kind of do like a meet, so we can, talk just formally. And then the next month, maybe do another 3 council and just keep it that way so that it's not a formal council meeting. We don't have all the rules. We can just, it'd be more of a relaxed, hey, what do you got questions about type of thing. That's,
If you post notice of potential quorum and no decisions will be made, you're allowed to meet more than just.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
we would have it.
Tilly just had to post the exact same thing, but it
Yeah.
doesn't have.
Before any information is provided, let me just say, I've had conversations about this. This is a big topic of discussion at LSC. It is advised that no more than 3, without a formal meeting, that no more of 3, because you will be discussing city business that may come back to a discussion or a decision and a vote. That would trigger a meeting, a public meeting law violation. So it should be limited to 3 people, or it should be discussed as a open forum meeting, workshop with the public, and we notice it and treat it just like a normal meeting.
I
Well,
think it'd be great, right? This is a workshop and have everybody.
I'm fine with either way.
yeah, I mean, yeah. I just wanted to answer questions from the public, kind of get some back and forth dialogue going, so. And I know.
My only concern on that is that you guys would be, I mean, you're not representing us because it's not an actual council event, but you'd be answering questions as a council person.
Nope, as an individual council person.
Right, and I would be afraid that people might take that as things are gonna happen, but that's not actually what the council has voted on, so it might give some mixed signals to people.
So just a question, if this works well as a trial, would most of you support doing the same thing and having different people at each?
Well, that's
Each of these, if we did them several times a year, if we did it 2 or 3 or 4 times a year, say. So we have the opportunity for a more user-friendly workshop than a formal meeting is. Where you can just sit down with a group of people that might be 10 or might be 20 or might be 50, who knows? But it's probably gonna be on the lower end of that, and you can have a dialogue that's open to anybody and connect with the community.
So it's between that, what we did with Township 13.
so that's exactly the point. You can absolutely do a council workshop, but it will have to be noticed. We'll have to put an agenda out there, and it should be, we're gonna talk about random city stuff. But because all of you will be there, you will be speaking as a body, as the council.
Right.
We
can use it as a group.
Right.
I understand is what we would like to do is hear what people want to have for goals, how they want to do their benches, and how they want to, all the things we've been talking about. I don't understand why we have to break off into groups to do that.
Well,
Because it is public.
yeah.
I think they were afraid that people are uncomfortable talking to us here in this kind of formal environment, right? Is that
Right, where it's recorded, all that, so they just want to just kind of have a,
But a workshop
workshop's
would be recorded, wouldn't it?
Well, and with the
But
township
at the town hall.
we did have dialogue, because, today's workshop is like, they didn't say anything, but we did have that at the township 13 meeting, so.
Was the fire department workshop recorded? I feel like that was so casual, where we just all sat around the table with each other.
Yeah.
This is? Okay. Do we want to have a where there's not minutes and things?
no, I just want everyone to feel comfortable to talk about anything. I mean, realistically, there's so much false and negative stuff online right now that I don't feel comfortable. If you notice, I haven't been online. It's just too much crap. And so I would rather people ask questions and they get truthful answers, or we can point them, no, that's incorrect. This is where you need to go. Let's show you where to go to get this information, or, this is what's really happening. Get the facts, from us instead of listening to all this stuff online and all this false information. And talking in a casual set, that's what I always wanted is, I thought it'd be great just to have a casual setting. And that's why I thought 3 at a time, that would kind of forego the recording and people feel more comfortable but
I think the important, I'm sorry.
I just have a question. How many people have talked to you personally? Just you, without two other people? Don't you talk to people all the time?
oh yeah.
And I know Heidi does, and I know I do, and I know Sue does, and Jerry. You're talking to all of us. When you bring three people in the room, there's four of us that are not in the room.
Right.
And I don't think we're gonna talk about Ray Booth, but I would, hopefully you wouldn't. I mean, maybe give me a sidewalk. But when you start putting numbers together, what it looks like looks bad to me.
Okay.
I mean,
I would feel
anybody,
better if it was all of us.
it's either all of us or meet each of us individually, like I get all the time.
And I mean, I have no problem. I mean, we can set up another date, or if that day is good, it's just, community center is very hard to book.
We could do it in City Hall.
Yeah. We do it City Hall, but I
But
know
it
the,
might be more casual than it is in here now.
Yeah, now.
but I know, you know, I'm free, Jerry's free, and Susan's free on the 27th. We were thinking 6 to 8, but, you know, if you guys are free, we can.
I'm not free.
I cannot hear. No, that's like, no, I'm not. That's a great thing.
My question, is there a downside to it? I mean, I know we were talking about not doing that,
No, because
but I
we
do
would,
feel like I understand like the concept of it and just, I don't know.
when you're in a meeting setting like that, the one thing you gotta make clear to the public, when you address us with a question, it needs to be addressed to one of us individually. You can't address this, what does the council feel about, that's where you can't. It has to be directed at us, and then we would have a chance to answer that, you know, directly. It was just a casual setting, I was thinking would be, you know, a lot of other cities I've seen do it, and, you know, that's why I thought, okay, and they usually have 2 to 3 people. I thought, okay, we could do that, and just really get informal meetings out there with the public where they can ask us questions, you know? And then Jerry was talking earlier, we would like to maybe, you know, grow on that, where it could be a potluck, or, hey, have cookie and coffee with the council or a council member, you know, just because we need to get out there more. We need to start engaging more and, you know, in an informal, recorded, video setting type of thing, but some people feel uncomfortable.
Now, somewhat to replace government by Facebook.
Yeah.
Which is just a poor tool for people to communicate. And, you know, when you're in the same space together, I think generally there's a lot more goodwill.
I think we get a lot more accomplished. I mean, when we had the township,
Could be more honest.
I thought it went very well, face to face. We got more accomplished in that little workshop meeting than we did in 6 months going back and forth online. So I don't know. To me, I think it's something that we need to look at and do. And that's why I was bringing that up.
If we did want to widen it to the whole council, then we'd have to rethink the date
Right.
and time because it's vacation.
I'll be in a Bible tournament. Nothing fun this spring break, sorry.
Did you bring some dates back, or email some dates that might work with, since you know the scheduling, well, we can always, my fear is we have it at City Hall, and then all of a sudden we get 50, 60 people show up, and now we're starting in there, but, free pizza, now we're talking 100.
Yeah, so, Oregon passed Senate Bill 57 something, I can't, do you remember the number?
Yeah.
No, anyhow, they passed a Senate bill that says it's now allowed, the cities can now allow it and feed council members at meetings. So we will actually be able to feed you at the budget meeting. We'll actually be able to feed you at the lot. They did forever and then they stopped. And then it was illegal to give somebody a pizza or make cupcakes for somebody's birthday.
Yeah, so we didn't have the Christmas party.
No,
Right.
that's exactly why. We couldn't, we were told that we could not do that.
So we'll bring it back then, instead of the 27th, we'll see if we can get us all together and do like a workshop.
I'll put together a, what do you call it? What is the name of it?
Yeah, there is a.
There's a tool that allows you to do calendar scheduling.
Yep.
I can't remember the name of it right now.
Beautiful.
It's Doodles, thank you.
Yes.
I used to do it all the time, now I
Is it still around?
It is.
It's also possible I'll be able to bring back some ideas from this workshop that I mentioned that might be helpful as alternatives to what we've been talking about so far. Somebody may have a better idea.
Any other council comments or concerns? I just want to share that I did go to the animal shelter opening and it's a beautiful building. And anyone can apply online to volunteer there. So of course they're looking for volunteers. They're also looking for folks who just want to walk the dogs and walk the animals. And so it's pretty exciting for our neighborhoods. We're going to see a lot of people being asked to adopt little kittens and stuff to help them to get in a better place to be adopted. So
Better not do that.
I know, right?
They are not taking cats.
So they're not taking cats.
No,
No.
no. Oh, if you die and you leave a pet, they'll take it. A cat,
But they will have cats there, right?
not right away.
They told me they'd have chickens and bunnies.
Well,
So
I would like to see it. It's the dog
There's
shelter.
already complaints online, so I can imagine.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Well, they didn't pay their sewer bill, they may have to be closed until they have kittens.
I knew there'd be some complaints, but people were saying that they're hearing the dogs bark at night.
Well, yeah, we really do.
I can't hear them.
But
You
supposedly,
can't hear?
No.
Come over the ninth hole.
yes. But they also, it was mentioned in that post about, shutting them up at night or something, putting them there. I know now it's kind of not normal operations, if possible.
I think that's just Greg barking.
No, it's great.
Maybe that's why I'm not hearing.
All right.
Can I ask a question, being about the shelter opening?
Sure.
How long did it last?
How long did what last?
The shelter opening? I was going up there at 2:30, there was not a soul.
Oh, and it was pouring rain, so I think people did their tours, and then after the tours, they probably closed it up, but I think I was there until about, yeah, it started at 9:30. 10:30 was a ribbon cutting. And then the tours were about 15 minutes long, and I think they did 3 or 4.
Yeah, I don't think they went past like 12:30, the one they moved at most.
That's too bad.
Yeah.
The weather was not with it.
The weather was not obliging. Okay, so with that, I'm gonna close this meeting, so we can go into an executive session. I'm afraid only council,
You have to read.
Oh.
Sorry, you have to read the whole thing.
read a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought I wanna enter the executive session.
No.
We're going to close for executive session, A pursuant ORS 192.662H, to consult with our attorney regarding our legal rights and duties in regards to the current litigation or litigation that is more likely than not to be filed under the pursuant of ORS 192.662F, to consider information or records that are exempt from disclosure by law. And I see our attorney has arrived, so with that, I will close this meeting. Take a 10-minute break. We'll come back at 6:40.
You know, about halfway through the gold talk, I was like, I should grab the water. Oh, I can tell, but still, I started to have to think about salsa and stuff that made my mouth water. Because otherwise I was starting to dry up.
See you later.
March 22nd, out of executive session, back to the public meeting at
March 12th.
March
March
12th.
Me, and then it's March 12th.
What is that? 12. Tired, guys.
You almost got me on.
March 12th, out of an executive session, back into the normal meeting, regular council meeting. Does council have anything to discuss?
I think
This is where we advise our attorneys.
This is what we were discussing.
we advise our attorney to go back to CSI.
CIS.
CIS, it's all your fault. And give us the information that we asked for.
You,
I move that we have our attorney go to CIS and get the information we asked for.
And then
We'll send it.
And then email us back.
including the city recorder. Any seconds?
I so motion.
So second.
So second that motion?
Sure.
Excellent. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, that was unanimous. Look at us working together.
Yeah, and then, wait, and then after we find other stuff, we'll figure out a date?
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to be on record.
Yeah. All right, anything else that you want to discuss?
I
Oh, you do? Right, that,
Pretty
all
good.
right.
Since the attorney's here, and we're in open session, we can talk about it. I would like to see if the council would like to set a motion for him to work on either a letter or something going after the old beachcomber group for the money they owe us.
I feel like that's another executive session.
Is it?
I disagree. I disagree.
Yeah,
That's over $20,000 potential.
I think we need to talk about that in executive session. I would feel comfortable writing that.
This is not something we should talk
Oh,
about.
you can't vote in executive session, but yeah.
Right, but I would need to discuss things.
Okay.
Okay, so in the good of the order, my dyslexia is taking over now. So I'm closing the meeting. So thank you.